for you?
That was, sorry, that was like exactly when Jared finished the doorbell ring. So we can do an unboxing instead of the nugget if you guys want. Live. No, we'll save that for later. I would honestly rather talk about what my nugget is.
Only if you drop the phone when you open it out of the box.
Yes, that would be the best. Okay, I'm going to swap here. Just double check. You guys can all see this? Yes? All right. So today we're going to talk about a phrase that I've been using for several years, and it's become increasingly meaningful to me. And so hopefully by the end of the conversation today, it also has some deeper meaning to you. So I'm going to talk about being born on third base and what that actually means, and hopefully maybe something we can do about it. So third base is a reference to baseball. And so as is my style, I want just random facts and context to help tell a story. Baseball is America's pastime. That phrase comes from the mid-19th century, which is the 1800s. Journalist and record keeper Henry Chadwick said it in a game and said it about a game in a newspaper article, and it just kind of stuck and it got picked up and everybody started calling it America's pastime. In the 60s, over 30% of Americans said it was their favorite sport to play and or spectate. And it kind of peaked TV viewership in the 80s when I was a kid. Would routinely get between 30 and 40 million viewers for the World Series. And in like today's streaming where, I think, was it K-pop Demon Hunter had like 100 million streams the first week it was out or some craziness like that. Like these numbers don't mean much, but in the 80s, there was only TV. And in America, there was only 76 million TVs. So like in the 80s, like half of the households that had a TV in their home watched some of the World Series on TV. Like it was a really big deal. And this last World Series only pulled about 10 million. So a lot of distraction. Baseball is not as popular as it used to be. To put that into context, the World Championship for League of Legends pulled over 5 million. So League of Legends, if you've ever even heard of that game or played it, gets about half the views as the World Series does now. And currently only 7% of Americans say it's their favorite sport. So baseball's kind of had a little bit of fall, but it's a metaphor and I want to use it. So for those of you that don't know anything about baseball, this is a baseball diamond, right? And these are the dimensions of the baseball diamond. There is no standard distance for basically like the fence, which would hitting a ball over the fence is a home run. In the major leagues, even in the major leagues, every single stadium is different, which like baseball enthusiasts want to go watch baseball in every stadium because every one of them is different. And the games play differently because the walls may be certain heights or, the atmosphere is thinner like the Colorado Rockies, etc. So the pitcher stands on the pitcher's mound and pitches it over home plate. If the pitch is between the shoulders and the knees of the batter, it's a strike and it's over like the boundaries of the plate going up. And there are 9 defenders. So if you are the batter, you're trying to hit a ball somewhere where none of these 9 people catch it before it hits the ground or can get to it and throw it to first base before you get there. And if you're already on base, you're trying to make your way around the bases to home plate when the ball is in play or trying to steal a base, which is very hard. Baseball is a defensively dominated sport. The average amount of runs in the major leagues scored over its entire history is less than 4 per team, and it's 9 innings. So every team gets 3 outs and as many at-bats as you can get before you get 3 outs as a team, and then you go and play defense. And it is usually, like I said, you have 9 innings and you only score 4 times. Less than half of the innings, you as a team can bring anybody home. So it is a very defensively driven game. So let's talk. The cool thing about baseball, and what got me really interested in it, is there is a ton of data around baseball. For whatever reason, all the autistic people in the 1800s picked up baseball and they loved keeping data. So there is, we've been recording every at bat and inventing all of these metrics around baseball since the mid 1800s. First box score was published in 1845. Chadwick, the guy that was referenced before, he actually invented multiple baseball metrics, including the batting average, which is how often you get a base hit and every time you get an at bat. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Modern baseball begins in 1871 when they merged, when the National League started, and in 1903 and 1905 the American League started, and they merged those leagues. And we have data from both of those leagues and what is now continued the major leagues, which is the National and the American Leagues combined. The World Series is the champion of the National League and the champion of the American League, and that's who plays in the World Series. And it is one of the longest running, continuously maintained sources of detailed data of human behavior in any aspect anywhere in the world. So here's an example that you can just find this out. If you ever wanted to know which player or players had the 139th most RBIs in the season of 1905, and RBI is run batted in, does anybody have a guess on who this may be? I didn't know this either. There's two people, Otis Claymore and Joe Sugden. How about Sandy Koufax? He's one of the most famous pitchers. What was his ERA his rookie year? An ERA is earned run average, which is if he pitches 9 innings, how many runs is he going to give up? Anybody have any guesses? Eric? No Eric? Nobody? Okay.
Skylar guesses 2.49.
2.49. Skylar is a Koufax fan. He's a rookie, dude. So 302, which means that for his entire rookie year at 19 years old, every 9 innings he pitched, he gave up just over 3 runs, which if the major league average is over 4, he's a better than average pitcher even in his rookie year. So you can go and look all of this up there. It's all online now, but you can go and look and see anything. So it becomes a really like fertile ground for analogies and metaphors, which is why I chose it for this nugget. I have been obsessed with baseball cards since I was a little kid. I'm not that obsessed with them anymore. I've moved on to video games and politics and nonfiction. But little Nate, 8 to 9-year-old Nate, was just in love with baseball. I started playing Little League as a kid, and the baseball cards and like basically how it showed the athletes, and they were kind of like these hero figures, and then you can flip the card over and there's all this data on the back. There's spreadsheets on the back of every baseball card. And I didn't know what a spreadsheet was, but as a kid, they made a lot of sense and I loved them. And then you'd get cards that have stories on the back. You get more contextual information. And all of these cards, you know, there was gamification involved. There was chance. These are the original loot boxes for people my age, where a pack of Donruss was 50 cents and you would get, I think, 16 cards in the pack. And most of them would be garbage, but you had the chance of getting that Charizard, you know, that really valuable card in the pack. And so I was just obsessed with it. I mowed lawns. I did everything I could to get my hands on as many quarters so I could buy all of the baseball cards. And then this concept of value around the cards became really important. There is this company called Beckett, and they produced back then a monthly magazine that would give you an index of all of these baseball cards and their values. I think if Sheree grabbed it, I have this, the 2 Bo Jackson ones. I have those, and those are original. Like, they haven't been reprinted. They're first editions. They're worth a lot of sentimental value to me. But like, so you guys can see like that if you wanted to pull one of those out, maybe the one on the right with him in the Royals uniform, there's not a card in with those, so that one will come in and out pretty easy. But it's just pages and pages and pages and pages of data. of spreadsheets. And for whatever reason, 8-9-year-old Nate's brain just loved these things, to the point that I had trouble reading fiction even in elementary school. And I got some permission from a couple of my elementary school teachers to basically read the back of baseball cards as my reading time. And that was a really big blessing, because then I could be the top reader in my grade for time, and I was just reading spreadsheets. So that's Nate's. This is why I'm so connected to baseball. So why use it as an analogy? We have all of this robust data, and that analogy at the beginning about being born on third base, right? The TLDR is getting to third base is very, very, very hard. This is, the data on every at bat in the history of the major leagues. And most of the time you get out. 58% of the time you get out by making contact with the ball and somebody catching it, or a forced out or something like that. You get struck out 15% of the time. 19% of the time you hit a single. Basically getting to third base is very, very hard. And here is why it is hard. Pitching dominates the sport, right? Every pitch is thrown by a pitcher who is throwing. The average in the major leagues is their fastball is over 94 miles an hour. The pitcher's mound, from the previous diagram of the baseball diamond, pitcher's mound is elevated 10 inches above the plate, and it's located 60.5 feet away from home base. The pitcher has a pivot foot, which means his foot is on the pitcher's mound, on the pitcher's plate, and can take one large step forward to throw the ball. And the rules are they don't have to keep their foot on the pitcher's plate. So they don't even have to be touching that spot that's 60.5 feet away when they release the ball. Here is what that looks like if you've never played baseball or watched it. This is the pitcher, and they do a lot to hide the ball, because how you hold the ball and your location of your fingers on the ball will dictate its spin and where the ball is going to go. And that'll be more important in a second. But you have the windup, the stride. So this pitcher takes a big step here, and he's loading. His arm is cocked. He's about to release it. And here's your release point, right? Look at how far the ball is towards the batter compared to the pitcher's plate, and then the release. So as a batter, you don't even see the ball until it comes over the pitcher's shoulder just before it's going to be released. And here's why that's important. The average major league pitcher is 6 feet 3 inches. So this step and their movement towards the batter is about 6 feet. So they decrease the distance that ball has to travel by 10%. And at 94 miles an hour, major league pitch takes about 0.4 seconds to be released to hit the catcher's mitt. So less than half a second. The batter has to respond, right? The batter has the time that it takes a professional batter to swing is 0.2 seconds. So they have the other 0.2 seconds, if it's a fastball, to not only see the pitch, diagnose it, guess if it's going to be a strike, and then decide if they're going to swing. And then if they decide to swing, they have to move the bat, which is only 2 5/8 inches in diameter, around to where the ball is going to be. And I think I said this before, but the ball, the baseball is 2.86 inches in diameter. So you have like a less than 3 inch ball, and you have a less than 3 inch bat. The ball is traveling at 90 plus miles an hour from a distance of only 55 feet by a professional who's trained since they were little to throw this as hard and as accurate as they can. So to put those timings in perspective, right, the average human blink is 0.2 to 0.4 seconds. So if you're a slow blinker, you're going to be a terrible batter. If you're a fast blinker, you maybe could sneak in a blink and still have a prayer at hitting a major league pitch. And also, when I talk about how the pitcher holds the ball, without getting too into the weeds, because we're already way in them, but the pitcher can then spin the ball or purposely not spin it and cause the ball to move A really good and talented pitcher can curve the ball on a curved ball 17 inches in just those 55 feet. Meaning that if you see the pitch coming at one spot, by the time it gets to the bat to where you are, it will drop 17 inches just purely off of spin. So it's very, very hard. To get the perspective, here is what it would look like standing in the batter's box with a major league pitcher pitching to you. Pretty crazy, right? So let's talk about getting to third base. So hopefully, like the whole point of this whole build up is for everybody to understand that getting to third base is very, it's unreasonably hard. Hitting a major league pitch is one of the most difficult things that any professional athlete is expected to do on a consistent basis. It's very, very difficult. Does anybody know the average batting average of a Hall of Famer? So baseball, Major League Baseball has a Hall of Fame, which enshrines the greatest people to ever play it. Does anybody have a guess of what the average batting average is for a Hall of Famer?
Somewhere around 0.3.
Good guess. Anybody else? It's almost exactly 0.3. It's 0.303. So these are the best people. Like getting to the major leagues is a huge deal, right? Less than 2% of everybody that plays baseball makes it to the major leagues. And then once you get in the major leagues, if you're one of the greatest of all time, you're able to hit a ball and get on base less than 1/3 of the time. That's pretty hard. Here's your major league average, right? Think of the distribution of all batters, all major league players over the entire history of the major league. What is their average batting? The batting average, the average of their batting averages. Does anybody know? Or a guess? It's lower than the Hall of Fame, I'll tell you
I was
that.
about to say slightly lower than 0.3.
How much lower? What's the skewness of our data, right?
I'd say it's pretty tightly knit. I bet it's like 0.29 something. I bet it's pretty close.
Any other guesses? 0.213 from James. 175. All right. It is 0.248, which, right, I think speaks a little bit to how exclusive the Hall of Fame is, right? It's pretty hard to bat your entire career and do it 3 out of 10 times. Most players can do it 2.5. Like the average player does it 2.5, but that difference of getting on base just 3 out of 10 times will get you in the Hall of Fame. Yes, Kevin.
So batting average is the average of times they hit the ball when they swung, or average of number of times they hit the ball when the ball was served to them. So does that include balls or not?
It's at bats. So it's the percentage of every at bat that they hit the ball and got on base. There's a separate metric, which is called on base average, which preparing this nugget was really insightful for me of realizing why I really like numbers and measuring what matters. And like the nuance between CPM and ECPM. So like your batting average is the times that you hit and got on base. And then there's an on base average, which is including when the pitcher walks you, which happens if the pitcher gets 3 strikes, you're out. If there are 4 balls, which are pitches that you do not swing at, which do not go in the strike zone, and the umpire chooses to call it as a ball, you get 4 of those before 3 strikes, you get to go to the base for free. That happens. Anybody have a guess? It almost never. Do not bank on being walked, but it does pad the stat. So the on base average of all major league players is almost 1/3. Almost 1/3 of every major league at bat ends up getting on base. So, but that's not third base. but still 2 out of 3 ain't happening. You're out, basically. Okay, so let's talk about getting to third base. So James is throwing facts here. 371 at 14 seasons. Yeah, Gibson. So of all batters in Major League history, only 5% have ever made it to third base or beyond. Of those, only 14% ever got there hitting a triple, which is they did it all on themselves, by themselves. The pitcher pitched through the ball, they hit it, they were able to hit it in a position where none of the 9 defenders could get it in the time that it took for them to run to third base. That almost never happens. There's only 14% of the time that anybody made it there, it was through their own efforts alone. So the vast majority, or the inverse of that, 86%, got there through a combination of their own skill and luck, right? First, they had to get on base. So that 1/3 of the time, they were able to get, with their skill, they were able to get on probably first base. And then to advance, they either had to steal a base, which involves even more of their skill, or they were helped by a teammate who hit the ball, and maybe the teammate was thrown out at first, and that enabled them to run to second. And then another team hit a ball and was thrown out at first, and they were able to run to third. And that's how they got to third. Or a teammate, they hit a double and a teammate hit a sacrifice fly just to advance them to third base so they could be in scoring position. Basically, the TLDR is if you're on third base, almost never did you get there on your own. Almost never. If you did, it's pretty crazy and it's laudable, but you probably didn't do it by yourself. So then let's talk about what happens once you're on third base. Of all Major League runners to ever be at third base, 66% of the time, they were able to score a run. So once you do get to third base, your chances are better than even that you're going to be able to score, which is really good, right? But getting there is the hard part. But once you're there, life's pretty good. 66% of the time, you're going to be fine. You can try to steal home at third base. And that would be getting to home through your own efforts. You score 66% of the time because your teammates do something that enables you to get there. The chances of you making it home once you're on third base are actually almost dead on the inverse of your teammate at bat getting on base themselves. So there's this cool little asymmetry balance thing. And like I was saying, only 0.1% of all third base runners got home by themselves, meaning they were helped to get there. All right, how are we doing with the baseball analogy? We doing with baseball? Or we want more baseball? All right, let's transition here. Let's talk about us being on third base. So there's this wonderful website called Gapminder. And a series of books that were written by a team of Swedish economists, Hans, I can't remember his name now, and his son. I think I've shared his TED Talk before. And anyways, they have aggregated a lot of the world's data around economic mobility and resources and all of the things. And if you go to gapminder.com, you'll see this little analogy. I added in the bases and the at bat just to help with our little metaphor here, and hopefully this kind of starts to come together. But of all of the humans alive right now, there's 7, right? So 1/7 of all humanity lives on less than $2 a day. 3/7, or almost half of humanity, lives on between $2 and $8 a day. So they're on first base. These are the people at bat trying to climb out and eke out a living. These are the people that are on base. These are second base. And then this is us on third base. Basically, 1/7 of the world population lives on more than $32 a day, or about $1,000 a month. Okay. So think of where you're from, where you grew up, the opportunities you had, and the means that were available to you. If your family that raised you was living on more than $30 a day, you were born on third base, which probably most of us were. If you want to see a little peek into the lives of our teammates that are at bat or on first base or second base. This is what our teammates that are on at bat are doing for drinking water: first base, second base, third base. If you have running water that's filtered in any way or treated anyway, you're on third base. Transportation, if you have no means of transportation, or you're maybe have some mechanical advantage or some combustion, or even like your own car, that's what that looks like. For cooking, this is what our teammates on bat do for cooking and fuel, right? Look on these, and when you cooked your last meal, what did you have available to you? When you sat and ate and tried to put calories in your body, what did it look like here, especially, even growing up? And then when you go to sleep at night, what does that look like, right? They also on this website, on Gapminder, they have a page called Dollar Street, which these are all of our fellow human beings. And this is, you highlight this and it'll show them up on the spectrum here where they sit on that spectrum of amount of money per month. And so we can, I'll scroll down here. We'll pick somebody at random. Here's fellow humans living in Bolivia. We can click into there's a little video of them as a family, and then we can scroll through to see any other media of just peeks into their life, right? So this is a family in Bolivia that lives off of $265 a month, which means, right, if we go back here, 265, that's they're probably right in between first base and second base, right? Certainly not comfortable, but certainly not as bad off as most, because again, half of humanity lives below $8 a day. So the point that I wanted to drive home here, there's a couple points and they're all coming, don't worry, is if you were born on third base, you have a lot of people to be grateful to and to thank. You owe a lot to your ancestors and the people that chose to help them or contribute in a significant way to their lives is the reason you are where you're at. This is this little guy in the overalls, the taller of the two little boys in overalls. That is my grandpa, my dad's dad, Howard Hogan Putnam. He passed away last year at 101 years old. He probably lived a good chunk of his childhood between first and second base. So like the family in Bolivia that I showed you, they were homesteaders. But they were also really lucky because they were granted land by the state of Utah to go up and own and to work and to build a life. And so through, again, their hard work and their skill and luck, by being of the descendancy that they were, they had options available to them to be homesteaders. And not that it's the most fertile, most beautiful place in the world in Woodruff, Utah. They were given, Randolph. Woodruff is north. They were in Randolph. They were given land. And so, they lived in a simple 4-wall hut when his dad, John Melvin, was married and started a family. My grandpa Howard, I think the schooling that he got in Randolph, I think went to 8th grade, and was able to commute to Evanston for high school. And then World War II happened when he was in his 20s. He chose to enlist and served in the military in Europe in World War II, was lucky to survive and come home, and he was given a GI scholarship, so he was able to go to college. And he went to college, as is typical with most, with the Putnams. He married way out of his league, married somebody that he absolutely didn't deserve, but changed the trajectory of his life and his descendants' lives. And so I think one of the key points I want to drive home is that, not only, everybody that you meet is where they're at because of their ancestors, but everybody you meet is going to be more than likely somebody's ancestor. And the progress and prosperity that they achieve in their life, if you can help with that, how much better off will all those countless lives be if you choose not to ignore them or you choose not to exploit them, and you actually choose to see them as a human and to help them. So here's like the kind of bring it all home slide. You know, life is the picture and it's rough, right? For our friends at BAT, less than a third of them are going to make it out of poverty. 2/3 of them are gonna die in poverty, and their children will probably die in poverty. There's just not that it's just hard, right? When there is no infrastructure, there is no opportunity, and you spend most of your life looking for calories and looking for fuel and water, like you don't have a lot of time to progress. So being born on third base doesn't mean you know how to play the game. It doesn't know you know how to hit a pitch. So be cognizant of that most of life's trials, we have all been fortunate enough to never even have to worry about or even think about. But that doesn't mean that they're not real and they don't exist. Everything that you have, right? If you think about back to your ancestors, like being on third base, you didn't get here. You didn't get here on your own. So it's really like not yours. You won a bit of a birth lottery. So everything you have that to share it. Not only is it a mandate that you really should share it with other people, but like that's why you have it. Be grateful for where you are and how good you have it. And never be critical of those that are at bat still. And you know what the realities of their life may be. Right? And we're all on the same team. They're a human just like you. They were born a human, they're going to die a human. They were not born in such favorable circumstances as you. So much of society wants you to feel like the only thing that matters in this game is that you make it to home base. Let me tell you, if you're on third base, 2/3 of the time, you're going to make it. More than likely, you're going to be fine. Right? Are things hard? Is it difficult? Do you need to pay attention to the pitcher? Do you need to pay attention to your teammates so you can get home and score? Yes, right? You can't set up a recliner on third base, like it's not done, but more than likely you're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But so much of society wants you to think that that's all that matters. And if society and the world can make you feel like you're all that matters, you're very easy to get out. You're very easy. You're an easy out because all you care about is yourself. And power consolidates and strives to keep power, and you will lose every time going against the powerful if you're just you. And the point of the game is not, we're not going to win a lot of baseball games 1-0, right? As humanity, that's not how we win a game. I talked about it earlier. The average run scored is over 3. So if all you care about is you scoring, that's only a 1 score for our team. We're going to lose that game as a human, as a species. We win the game by getting as many of us as possible all the way around the bases to score. That's how we win. Right? It's to get everybody on base, and everybody that's on base, we want to help them progress and we want to get them to score. And kind of last parting is, be a kick-ass ancestor, right? Whether those are going to be nieces and nephews, whether those are your own children, whatever you can do to contribute not only to the lives of your immediate descendants, but their descendants and their descendants, the decisions you make really matter. Putting yourself in a more happy, stable, secure place and living your life in a way that others should emulate it. That like the world would be a better place if everybody was like Kevin Hill. Right? Live your life that way. Right? Think of how many fewer problems there would be in the world if everybody lived their life like Kevin. Right? So I want to close. This is I love to read nonfiction books, and it gives me a lens to look at the world through. And this is the book I'm currently reading. And so you get a quote from this book. The book is called On Kings. It was written by David Graeber. And this was actually this morning as I was driving into the office. So we're talking a little bit about the paradox of power. And he's talking about kingships, but think of governments, infrastructure, power, like in any of those dynamics, put that in the place of kingships. We don't live under a king currently, but we do have overarching authority over us. So the institutions of kingships embodies a kind of paradox. Kings are both omnipotent and helpless. On the one hand, the essence of sovereignty is the sovereign's power to do as he likes with his subjects and their possessions. And the more absolute the monarchy, the more absolute, arbitrary, and unaccountable this power tends to be. On the other hand, kings are in part for this very reason dependent on their subjects. They are fed, clothed, housed, and have their basic physical needs attended to by those ostensibly under their power. And the more absolute their power, the greater that dependency will also tend to be. For those educated in European philosophy, this observation will immediately call to mind Hegel's master-slave dialectic, where the conqueror, in reducing his rival to servitude, becomes dependent on him for his means of livelihood, while the conquered at least achieves a kind of paradoxical autonomy and mastery in work. So there is this movie called The Triangle of Sadness, where there's a luxury yacht that gets blown over in a storm, and they are on a deserted island, and the leader of the people on the island becomes the little Filipino lady that was the janitor, because she's the only one that actually knows how to do anything. It's a wonderful movie. This is a 1-minute clip to just illustrate the previous quote.
Why do you get so much food? Why?
I caught the fish.
Yes.
I made the fire.
And?
I cooked. I did all the work. And everybody got something.
No, we all worked.
What did you do?
We gathered all the wood for the fire. We need to work together. They don't know how to do that.
Exactly. And maybe that's why you should not be so lazy and dependent on me.
Abigail, I think you're forgetting that we work on a yacht. You are a toilet manager. You don't know how to handle this.
What yacht? Where's the yacht? Who am I?
You're the toilet manager.
No. In the yacht, toilet manager here. Captain, who am I?
You're the captain.
Yes. In the yacht, cleaning lady here, Captain.
So, wonderful movie. Highly recommend. And then all these things that I'm talking about, you don't have to take my word for it. Here's some recommended readings. Our Kids is a wonderful book about this perspective that kind of getting over that hump of my kids versus your kids, and all children are the future of humanity, and whatever we can do to improve the lot of all children is important. Martin Buber wrote I and Thou, which is recognizing the divine or the divine potential in everybody else, and it's inherent in our speech. If we approach other people, other human beings with a form of reverence, it's an acknowledgement of their divinity and ours as well. I won't talk through all of these books, but you can't miss reading any of these books. So I think with that, 2 final memes, and then we're done. This is me trying to explain my political ideology without using scary words like communism, anarchism, and socialism. We're strong together. We come together. The people that actually do work, the people that actually do stuff, we know we can do the things. And last one, the magic you're looking for, it's in the work that you are avoiding. If you're ever in a place where your life is not full of magic, you're probably missing a very specific type of work, which has to do with lifting others and benefiting others. That's where the magic of life lives and will always live, when you're doing something that will benefit nobody else, that it will benefit somebody else and not benefit you at all. That's where the magic comes from. And I'll leave that with you. Questions, comments, anything else? Thanks, guys, for your patience.
Loved it. Really do appreciate it, Nate. That was
No
awesome.
questions, Nate. You're the best.
Thanks. We're good? All right. We're going back to John Denver then, guys.
Thanks, folks.